Master Cheung, we're talking about the street application, the street fighting application of the Wing Chun Kung Fu system, which you are, of course, the Grandmaster of. And I know that you were legendary for your accomplishments and your challenge matches on the rooftops of Hong Kong. But I also know that not all of your encounters in Hong Kong were pre-organized formal challenge matches with rules and, a gentleman's agreement. Would you care to talk about any of the street fights that you had that there were no rules?
Well, in Kung Fu, there's three types of Kung Fu. One is a tournament Kung Fu, right? Or tournament martial art. Martial art would be, okay, the tournament, you have rules, you have a referee, like boxing or cage fighting or UFC or the karate tournaments or Kung Fu tournaments, So that's one type, And the other type is theatrical Kung Fu or theatrical martial art for movies, for TV shows and theaters and so on.
For performance.
Performance. And the reality Kung Fu is the third type, reality, people are not going to wait for you to get ready to attack you. And usually, in the street or in the real situations, they jump out from nowhere and so on, So, when a person practices martial art, they should think, how am I going to apply in the real situations, right? And I was placed in a situation that most of the time that without any preparations, during the year of 56, 57, 58 in Hong Kong, we did a lot of challenge match, and the challenge match. Most of the masters, they had something to do with the triads. And then we defeated them and the triads lost face. And then when they lost face, they lost business, And a lot of the triads are protected by the crooked policemen and the crooked politicians and so on. So unwillingly, we actually step into somebody's toe, and getting. But this particular ambush was not actually. It was just I saw something that I saw 4 guys beating up one young kid. So I went to stop it, and then they lost face. They decided to, because in their territory they had to be shown that as they are the person with the voice, and everything they say, everything they do have to command certain respect. So
for those of us that are not aware of exactly who or what the triads are, could you please maybe explain a little bit about who these people were and why they were trying to get you?
The triads been in China for thousands of years. The biggest gang in China were the beggars. Because when the economy was bad and people don't have jobs, you get beggars in the street and so on, and they. And they're very powerful because they have the number. This is from, but we talk about specifically the triads that in Hong Kong actually can trace back to about 300 years ago when they want to overthrow the Manchu, the Qing dynasty. At that time, China was ruled by the Manchu. And the Manchu was a minor race, about 4% of the population, and ruling China with 90% of the population. And of course, there were a lot of these content about, the injustice rules and so on, and certain things that restricted Chinese to actually expand, whether their business or in the ministries or anything. Yeah. So the Chinese were very unhappy, and they formed the triads, to overthrow the Manchus. So at that time there was a few, and then but after the Manchu, after the Manchu were overthrown, and the organization still there. So there are three types of triads here in the southern China, and they call the Hongmun. And then in the Shanghai, they call the Cheung. And then also the other big organizations to do with Bongwei, to do with the this up north, So in fact, during the Second World War, the triad was helping the nationalist government to fight the occupier, the Japanese occupier. And in this specific situation, there's a house, it's number 14 in Zhugong Road in Guangzhou, and it was the headquarters of the Secret Service and the triad, sort of passing information and spying on the Japanese troop movements and so on. Yeah. So this number 14, after the Second World War, it turned into a very powerful organization. It's called 14K, and 14K. But when the triad actually helped the communist army to overthrow the nationalist army, to establish the communist regime, and the communists purged the triads. So they all escaped from China. They went to Hong Kong, they went to Southeast Asia, and they went to New York, they went to San Francisco and LA and everywhere, right? Except in China. Right? This is in the early 50s, 1950s. Okay. So the 14K was very, very powerful, because they have the backing of the nationalist government, Chiang Kai-shek, In fact, Chiang Kai-shek belonged to the Shanghai Qingbong. Chiang Kai-shek was one of, and Zhou Enlai also belonged to the Shanghai Qingbong, and so it's all knit into the government as well,
I see.
So in Hong Kong, and they're very active because and how they recruit their new members is using good guy, bad guy strategy. They have somebody pick on this young man, and then another person go up and say, look, I can help you, if you join us. And so good guy, bad guy, situation. And then they recruit a lot of young people. So they get the young people to do all the dirty work for them. Right? Mm-hmm. So it just, this instance, that when they were beating up this young guy, and I interfered and I chased them away, and I was their target since then. And And to cut the long story short, that I had a call from a very good friend of mine, to ask me to meet him, and so he can smooth out these differences, with the triad, with the 14K. So it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the Maylin Cafe, the cafe that had this booster drink that we drink, the egg and the Coca-Cola. And after 20 minutes, I waited in the Maylin Cafe, and my appointment still didn't turn up, and this best friend of mine didn't turn up, so I decided to leave. As soon as I came out of the door of the cafe, I saw 3 guys. 2 of them had a stick-like thing that wrapped in old newspaper, and straight away a warning light lit up, and I knew, there's an ambush waiting for me. And before this guy on the right-hand side pointed the finger at me, and he swung this stick with newspaper wrapped around it. And so I always be alert that when things that wrap around, it could be a crowbar, could be a stick, could be a knife. So you could not block, and it will cut you if it's a knife. So I did a cross palm block, and I stepped with my right foot turned to the left, facing the point of contact. So I stopped that, and then I kicked him because freed up my right hip. So I kick him with the right foot and swing the arm around, go to the blind side so I can see the other 2 people. And did a little arm break and switched the grip and ripped the stick off my hand. And then I swung at him, and I was just stunned because it actually, blood just poured from the left side of his chest to the right arm. In fact, that wasn't a stick; it was a sword. It was a sword that cut him from one side of the body to the other side, and the one in the middle with another stick just come on top of me overhead. So I did the bong do and do a half figure 8 slash. And so I cut him in the arm, and he screamed out, and they all ran away. And I came back to the attacker that lying on the ground, and he was bleeding in a pool of blood. And just as well, a taxi just drove past by, so I waved down the taxi. And the taxi driver was very reluctant to take us to the hospital. Was just about 10 blocks away. It was really, very close. So we got to the hospital, and all the staff that rushing out and taken him to the emergency room. And I sat there in the waiting room, in the outpatient waiting room, and I noticed everybody's looking at me because I was covered in blood, and this knife, half was covered by the newspaper, was also covered in blood. So everybody was staring at me. I was like this, waiting. So it must be over an hour. Must be over an hour. The nurses told me that they had treated him and sewed him up, and he wanted to see me. So I was brought into the room, and he was wrapped up like a mummy, with his hand, and he waved me over with the other hand. So I went over. He whispered in my ear. He said, "You're my true friend. You saved my life." I said, "Look, you're trying to kill me. this is your sword. You can have it back. Bye bye. So so I left, right? Almost exactly 20 years later, I got a invitation from through a friend of a friend. A friend invited me. He had some friends come from Hong Kong that want to take me to dinner in a very exclusive restaurant, in Melbourne. So I obliged, and we went to this, restaurant. It's called Flower Drum, right? And if you have to go to the best restaurant in Australia, there is the restaurant you go to, right? And this guy was really friendly, and he told me he was Bruce Lee's, fan, and he loved everything about Bruce Lee, the movies and everything. And he promised to visit my school, my Kung Fu school. So when we got out of the restaurant, and he whispered in my ear, and he said, by the way, I was one of those guys. He showed me the scar on his hand. I was one of the guys that, involved in the ambush. But I want to tell you another thing. Your best friend was the guy that took $500 to set you up, and that was, that was fall right into the, the pattern of the triads or the mafia. That you always get the closest friend to commit their assassinations or set up the assassinations or ambush. So, and that was opened up my mind a little bit.
I can only imagine. It's a testament to your knowledge and skill, Grandmaster, that you are still with us here today. Thank you.
Somebody up there looking up to me. Let's look at it, how to deal with an edge weapon attack, right? Firstly, you cannot put your arm in front of you because he will slash your arm, you pull your arm away, you expose your main target, which is your head and your body. Right? So it's better that you keep your arm close enough to your body. And the Wing Chun suggests that you must watch the weapon, and also you block to the hand. You block to the hand. So I call this a cross palm block. So straight away, you restrain this. I do the kick so that just to sting him. So I can take this and arm break. Then, so the arm break is to distract him. And so I can take this knife, and then I come back from here. Right? Let's look at it once more. Right? So from here, kick, arm break, slash, right? And but if you're not blocking the right way, if you block here, you're going to cut your hand, right? Or if you block too close to his arm, to his elbow, he's going to slash down because you will not be able to restrain. So you have to block and grip at the same time, right? Grip at the same time. The kick, right? So from here, then you can disarm. If he comes over, same thing, right? A kick, right? So you got arm break. Right, you pin, right? So you can actually dislodge with the other arm, right? With the other hand, dislodge with the left hand, right? So you turn this around, so you dislodge with the other hand, right? So for an overhead, right? So You can, from here, you dislodge, right, from here, right. The arm brake is to distract, sort of pin him there, so you can dislodge with this one, or dislodge, right, right, right. So you got from here, you dislodge from here, right, dislodge from here. If it's for the backhand strike, you're already on the blind side, then you can just dislodge from here. Right, you're already on the blind side. So from here, yeah. And if it's a straight strike, if you better to go to the blind side, then you dislodge from here, and right. So from here, you do a wrist lock, and then you rip this off, and then you can go from here one more time. Right. Right. If you're on the inside, he comes in. You're on the inside, you flick to the eye, so you can come around here, then you can dislodge from here. Right. Right. So you stop him striking with this one while you're dealing with. Right. And then you take this over here, and you rip this off from here. Right. One more time. We do it slowly. Right. Flick. Right. So while you steady this one, flick, and then you take this. Right. And then while you can rip this off from here. A lot of time that even though you know how to deal with edge weapon or how to disarm them, you should still look at if you have weapon improvisation, you have a bag or something, or even put your hand in the shoe, you can, because it takes a lot of skill to actually deal with the weapons, right? Because a lot of time, they can fake a movement. That's where, where you get tempted to jump in and you get cut. But with weapons, the best way is to watch where the knife is, and then on the inside, I always use a flick to the eye. Then I can swing this. Then I can rip this off from here. All right, we look at the sword against a stick attack, right? Firstly, how you post it, you always get the blade in front of you, right? And so that you can use it to occupy the critical path. And also you can make sure that your vision is not impaired and you can see what's happening. You must watch the assailant's weapon and make sure you have it covered. Right? So from here, so he comes in, block, right? And then I do a figure eight. I do a downward figure eight, right? Because I was in the inside a little bit, but if I were on the outside, then I do a downward figure eight on the outside. So let's look at here, 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 right? Here, 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 right? So let's look at it slowly. Here, here, here. On the inside, on the outside, here. You can also use this to help you to get either to the inside or outside, right? Here, right? So you push it away, here, here. And you can also do upward figure eight, right? So from here, right? So upward figure eight. Right? And downward figure eight. Downward and then upward. Downward, downward. Dealing with an edge weapon, if it's a dagger, a short weapon, right? You have to still watch the weapon and also identify where the wrist, where the hand is, right? And let's look at the straightforward like a strap, right? If I can step away, then I can do this, right? And then I can bring him to the ground, right? Okay? So using the leverage to, yeah, right? So from here, right? Or if I do an arm break, then I can pin him on the ground from here, right? Right? So it's just giving yourself little bit of room, and then you can, right? For a slash, right? For a slash, if you cut into the angle here, face the point of contact, and you free up this side, then you go to the blind side, and you can go to disarming from here, or you can disarming from upward wrist lock or diagonal wrist lock. Right? Okay. Right there. Right. There. Because we advise people to fight on the blind side. So for the back slash, you're already on the blind side. I'm already on the blind side. So I can just disarm from here. Right, disarm from here. Right. There, disarm from here. a lot of time that is for them to swing around. Then you let them come to you, right? Because it's no good trying to catch them one day, right? Okay. So dealing with the stick, right, to disarm a stick, there's several ways, right? But you've got to stop the attack first, right? So same thing that he swing at you. You from here, if you can rip, you can get underneath here. You can control, this stick, right? You go to the end, and then you can rip this off with a pressure point here. You can rip this off, and then you can use that. Right? So from here. Right, or you can do a reverse hand, right? Rip this off from here. Right, so yeah. Okay. And then you stabilize this, go to the end, right? Rip this off. You can go from here, right? Then you go into here. Then you rip this off from here, right? Okay. Or what you do is you come around on the blind side, arm break, you pin him down there, right? You actually pin him down there. Right, pin him down there. So from here. With the strike, same thing, strike. So you got from here. So you always want to deal with the assailant from the blind side, right? But sometimes that you happen to be on the open side. So with this, you on the back swing, you're already on the blind side. So you do an arm break from here and pin him down there, right? But if you go from here, right, you can do this and then swing this over to the blind side, right? Yeah. We place our hands in front of our chest, right? Usually, if you're on a left neutral side stance, your left hand in front of your right hand. And if you're on the right neutral side stance, your right hand in front of left hand. And let's go back to the left neutral side stance. You turn to your left with the right palm in front. And then overhead, you step back, and then you have this arm lock here, arm break here. Right? So once more, step to your left, overhead, and arm break. Once more. Step to the left, overhead, arm break. Okay. Now we do the right side on the right neutral side stance. Step to the left, to the right, turn to the right, step with the left foot. Overhead, and right. Turn to the right, overhead, bring the left foot back. Right, arm break. Right, again. turn to the right, overhead, and arm break. Okay, C4, we're going to go through with the butterfly sword drills. And there's two very important drills. One is upward figure eight, one is downward figure eight, right? The sword, the knife, the sword, and the whip is regarded as soft weapon. Soft weapon, that means you have to control it at the end of the movement. It's very hard for you to interrupt. So when you slash, you have to go to the end, then you change the directions, right? The big blades, the stakes, the spear, they are hard weapon that you can interfere with its movements, right? So one of the very important drill is the upward figure eight drill, right? Because with the sword, you cannot just chop. You have to slash, right? So the upward figure eight, it teaches you to do that drag when you make contact. Right. And then the other one is the downward figure eight. Downward figure eight, right? Downward figure eight. And then the other one is the zigzag. Zigzag, right? Or you can come back up, right? And then the diagonal, and the jab, the step, the jab. Right. Okay. In Wing Chun, the butterfly sword is like an extension of your arm. So a lot of the technique that you use in an arm can be applied on the butterfly sword, like the bong do, right? So you can follow through with a downward figure eight, right? Downward figure eight, a bong do, right? Bong do, right? And then upward figure eight, right? A bong do, upward figure eight. Bong do, upward figure eight. Or a bong do, upward figure eight with a slash, right? A bong do, upward figure eight with a slash. Or you can have a gang do, right? And with a slash, right? A gang do with a slash. Or a tan do with a downward figure eight. Tan do with a downward figure eight. Tan do. Tan do. Or a tan do with an upward figure eight. Tan do with an upward figure eight. Then you can have a biu do, with a downward figure eight. A biu do with a downward figure eight, or a biu do with an upward figure eight. Right. So the upward downward figure eight, it can be using as a defense move or offensive move, right? So, like for instance, that if a strike comes in, you can use upward figure 8 to deflect this and then go underneath, right? So deflection and then attack. Deflection and attack. Right? So deflection and attack. Or a downward figure 8 and attack. So it's a downward figure 8 and attack. Right? So you can use it in both situations. Hi, I'm going to show you the footwork first because everything starts from the ground upward, right? To deal with the disarming against weapons, the footwork is very important, and also how to balance and what's the strategy. The strategy is this, that if you swing a punch at me, right, I just block like that. It's not enough room for me to do anything. So, but if I turn a little bit, right, if I turn towards the point of contact and I can actually counterattack, free up, we call the force center. So we can do something simultaneously, right? Same thing against weapon attack, right? So if it's swinging at me, and if I turn, so when I turn to the left, I step with the right foot, right? If you come from this side, I turn to the right, I step with the left foot. So I have room, I actually freed up my left side, I get room to counterattack, right? So that is the strategy. And also, we also want to go to the blind side. So there's certain way that you can go to the blind side, right? Okay, so we can look at it again, right? Firstly, I don't put my arm forward because it will present a target, right? So we on the neutral side stance, and I'm looking at that knife, right? So he comes in, right? And I have room. I have actually room to do a flick to the eye or a kick, and then I have to stop this because he can pull this away and then will cut me. So as soon as I block, I will stop this, right? And then I swing this overhead, not across like that. We're going to cut my neck. So I want to swing. And then the arm break is good because arm break is the distractions, right? So you push with this one, pull with this one, and then that's the rip off, right? The rip, using a little bit of wrist lock, you can rip this off and you can, right? So the disarm, right? And the footwork is, if I want to turn to the left, I step with the right foot. I turn to the right, I step with the left foot. Left and right, right? Usually, if I turn to the left, I will have my right hand in front of the left because I can grip this, right? I can grip this, and I can go straight into the, I can go straight into the disarming, right? So if he's a back slash, and I turn to the right, stepping with the left foot, and then arm break, right? And then I can rip this off from here, right? So arm break.